What's up guys? Today I'm going to show you everything your project needs to have to pass the rough electrical inspection for your ADU. This ADU is the continuation project of the video that I made for the rough plumbing. Arlondo was the plumber on this project, and Sam is the electrician for this ADU. For the viewers who didn't see the rough plumbing video, the very last one that I made, the homeowner of this property saw the videos that I created and then got in contact with Natalie, and now he's using the services from my website to get in contact with the subs, and he's building his ADU. Hopefully we've filmed the entire project from the beginning to the end so we can show homeowners that it is possible to build an ADU as an owner builder. And I'm also going to create another video on how to help homeowners build their ADU as an owner builder and basically be able to pass all the inspections without any headaches, without any nightmare scenarios. So let's begin. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to pass the rough electrical inspection for your ADU. I'm going to cover all the little angles and everything that you need to know in order for your project to look good and the scene inspector to show up. 5 minutes later, he'll sign off on the rough electrical and you can keep on going with the construction of your ADU. Let's begin with a panel, and then I'm going to walk you from the trench all the way down to the ADU to the sub panel that's outside. So let me begin. For this video, I think it's going to be very important to have a professional explain all the steps that are required to pass the inspection, because by doing it this way, let's say if there's a homeowner who is talking to an electrician and the electrician is throwing information to the homeowner, if that homeowner watches this video, they would know exactly what they're talking about, and they're not going to BS them by upselling them on things that they don't need. That's the main reason why I'm making this video, so homeowners know exactly what to look out for the rough electrical. And at the end of the video, we're going to talk about the price, how much this all costs, and how much homeowners should expect to pay. Sam, what's the breaker inside this panel?
So we're going to install a 100 amp 2-pole breaker for the subpanel for the ADU.
And what about the line? The line coming in from the main panel going over to this side and underground, what is the size of that cable?
So we're using a service entrance cable, and it's going to be with number 2 conductors, which is good for 100 amps, more or less, just kind of according to the National Electrical Code and requirements and allowances.
If you need somebody to help you draw the plans for your ADU, get in contact with Natalie. She can help you draw the plans, submit them to the city, and get them approved. The best way to get in contact with Natalie is by going over to the website, check out her prices just to make sure they work on your budget, and book an appointment. That's it. By doing that, you will be executing step 1 towards building your ADU. And not just that, but now we have designers in San Diego, Riverside, Orange County, Oxnard, and Ventura. So there's a lot of places where we can help homeowners get their plans. And for this project, since we do have a smaller clearance, did the inspector have any issues with such a small clearance, or did he okay the situation here?
So in the trench, all he asked for was about more or less a foot of separation between our electrical line, which is the light gray, from maybe any plumbing lines on the left.
So we have a turn here, and then it keeps on going towards the ADU. Right over, I want to say maybe 15 feet away, we have another line. Sam, really quick, what is this other line coming out? We're looking at the conduit. It's coming over in this side. It's going to go up, and this is where it's going to be going into the ADU. We're going to take a look at the sub panel for the ADU and see what the scenario looks like on this side. And the sub panel can be installed inside or it can be installed outside. Sam, quick question. Let's say somebody wants to install the sub panel in a closet. Will that pass inspection?
Yes, it'll pass the inspection, just depending on clearances that are required for the National Electrical Code.
And what if somebody wants to install the sub panel inside a bathroom?
Probably not. That's not a good location just because it's all wet in there and it's not going to pass.
So in order to pass the inspection, obviously we're going to have the sub panel. Can you just walk us through what we have here?
Yeah, so this is an outdoor enclosure. It's a 100 amp sub panel. This one has a main breaker, and the reason why is because when there's an ADU that's going to be detached from the existing property, it needs to have its own disconnect at the sub panel. So we got that set up. These are all our circuits that are going to go power the lights, dishwasher, all the plugs, everything you need inside. Then something else that's important is just the grounding. So this connects the electrical system and gives it a path to ground everything according to code, and same thing for bonding. That ties all the steel piping together.
And can you just walk us through the grounding and how that process is installed?
Okay, so required is you need either 2 ground rods. They're 8 foot tall by 5/8 thick. They're copper. You just drive them into the earth. You maybe leave them out about like 6 inches or so just to connect this bonding conductor. Oh, it's not a conductor. It's a bonding cable. Yeah. Anyway, you need to tie to this one, and then we've got another one over here around the corner.
So what happens if the electrician calls for the rough electrical inspection and the grounding is not there?
That's a fail for sure. 100% fail. Every house needs it. Everything electrical needs to be grounded. So this outlet is going to be for a tankless water heater. Here's the plumbing for it and everything. But yeah, that's just a power requirement for the actual tankless water. It's gonna be like a 20 amp circuit dedicated, and there it is.
I have something on the master guide which basically tells homeowners to ask the electrician to install a power line for the water heater and the mini split, because if that's not installed at this time, what's going to happen is when it's time to install the mini split, if you don't have a line, then the mini split company is going to come in and ask you for an additional fee to run a power line going towards the mini split. So since everybody's doing the rough electrical at this stage, it's just better to have a line run to the mini split and to the water heater. It's one of those things that as an owner builder, you're not going to think about, but if you're watching this video, now you know. Sam, did you guys also install a power line for the mini split?
Yeah, we took a conduit and popped out the top, put it in a box for the HVAC contractor to hook up to. But yeah, we got a dedicated line up there.
What's the voltage for the mini split?
It might be, in this case, it might just be a 120 15 amp circuit, just because of the size and it's a small project. But other times it's 240 or 220.
And once we're ready for the final inspection, are you going to come back and label all the breakers?
Yeah, required. You have to. In order to pass your final inspection, everything has to be labeled. You have to have your GFCI testing, all your spacing, all your grounding, and proper functionality. So
this is the inside of the ADU, and I know there's a lot of information out there for electrical, for plumbing, just overall anything regarding to ADUs. And sometimes homeowners can break their heads trying to figure out how does it go, how to pass the inspection. But in reality, that's the job of the contractor or subcontractor. In this case, that's Sam's job. And his job is to find out the distance between one outlet and the other. Because if they're too far away, you're not going to pass the inspection. If you're too close by, you're not going to pass the inspection. So it has to be specific. You have to follow the electrical building code for California in order to pass the rough electrical inspection for an ADU. So, Sam, really quick, I noticed that this is a different style than my ADU. Okay. First thing I noticed was that the wires are going up instead of across. Can you explain why that's the reason you guys decided to install it this way?
Yeah, so the reason why we decided to go up and over versus through this is I guess structurally this is like, they call it a post or something. It's like a 4x4. And just talking with framers and other construction people, it's been established already that it won't pass code if we're drilling through the through posts, especially where this piece is. I guess they call them like hold downs or something. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
hold downs, yes.
Yeah, okay. So maybe the hold down. So, but yeah, that's the idea. So that's why we went up and over versus drilling through here or drilling through here or wherever else there's a post.
So let's say, for example, if you wanted to save some time and you didn't know the code, if you drill from this point to the other and kept the line going that way, the city inspector comes by, what would have happened at that point?
There's a good chance that the city inspector is going to call that out, and you're going to have to make adjustments to fix this. Maybe it could be that, the guy doesn't care and it's just one, so I don't know, but that's not the way we do it, because we're not trying to have anyone say anything about it, so we just follow the rule and we don't drill through it.
If you guys like the information that I'm covering so far, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment. That's it. Help the channel grow. Now let's continue with the rough electrical. And another thing that the city inspectors look for is for all the wires to be stapled. Otherwise, you won't pass the inspection. They cannot be loose. Is that correct?
Yeah. Every 4 feet, you have to staple it.
And that's a lot of staples. When I was building my ADU, the inspector came over. He got a 2x4 on the ground and started poking up. And luckily, all the wiring was done perfectly on my ADU, and I passed the inspection without a problem. And it looks like the same thing was done here. Everything looks stapled. Everything looks nice and clean. I was walking through the ADU, and I noticed a bunch of blue tape. What's going on there, Sam?
So that's just whenever we rough in, we just label everything so that way we know what's what whenever the walls go up. Because right now we can see where everything's going, but afterwards it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
And this is going to be the kitchen, right?
Yeah, it's going to be the kitchen counter.
Kitchen, we have outlets for the coffee maker. So this is going to be for the stove because we have the gas right on this side. What do we have going on here with the foam?
Oh, so the foam is a sealant, and also it's fire resistant, so it's kind of required for fire penetration, so we throw that in.
And the metal plates?
Metal plates are so that whenever they go in and fill the drywall, they don't nick any of our wires.
Sam, what happens if somebody calls in for the rough electrical and they don't have those plates installed? What will happen to that project?
That's a fail unless the inspector's cool, but that's a fail for sure.
And this is a section for the washer and dryer, and we have an outlet on this side. So for the purpose of a washer and dryer, do the wires have to be different? Do they have to be higher amps, or can it just be the standard yellow Romex?
It kind of depends, just your washer and dryer. Pretty much the washer is always going to be just a regular plug on a 20 amp circuit. The dryer is one that's either gas or electric, so depending on if it's gas, then you need a small one. If it's electric, probably need a bigger wire.
So here's the biggest question. Did you guys pass the rough electrical for this ADU?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Always, no problem.
Did you guys have any corrections?
Nope, no corrections.
Oh, nice.
No corrections.
Awesome, man. Sam, if somebody wants to get in contact with you so you can give them an estimate for their ADU, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Hek.com, man. So, just inquire. There you go. You'll end up talking to me.
And let's say, would you have any tips for homeowners who are thinking about building their ADU? What should they look out for when hiring a subcontractor for electrical?
Ask about load calculations in the beginning. If the electrician or electrical contractor can't do load calculations, maybe that's something that kind of pushes people out or in the circle.
Now, in my opinion, anybody who's thinking about taking on a project such as an ADU as an owner builder, the biggest thing that I would say to look out for is when hiring any type of sub, whether it be framing, electrical, or plumbing, they need to have experience with ADUs, because if that's their first ADU that they're going to be working on, they have no idea what to do. They're not going to pass the inspections as they come along, and at the end it'll just be a nightmare scenario for the homeowner. The biggest question on everybody's minds: how much does it all cost? How much is it for something like this to get the rough electrical on your ADU? So Sam, this project, what's the total cost on rough electrical?
So rough electrical, even rough and final, would be $10,000 for all of this stuff, including when the walls grow up and we put in actually the final pieces, install the lights, the plugs, everything.
So your cost includes you coming back and installing the finishes,
plus material, the material for this, our labor, and then passing all the inspections for sure. Total cost altogether, including the panel, because we usually kind of come check that out when we go to the job walk. But in this case, since it wasn't too crazy, it was $3,500 to bring the power over, and then $10,000 here, so total $13,500.
So $1,300 for rough electrical. Just use that information whenever homeowners are interviewing subcontractors to do the rough electrical. If their estimate is somewhat in this ballpark figure, then you're getting a good deal. But if And I've seen this before where a sub may come into the property and throw out a $20,000 estimate, and I'm pretty sure you've seen that before.
Yeah.
And people just sign those contracts not knowing that there's other options for people to find out pricing. And I think that's the biggest thing, pricing. How much is it going to cost? Because once you have the estimate for the framing, the electrical, and the plumbing, you basically have, I want to say, 50 to 60% of the entire cost of your ADU. These are the recessed lights for the ADU. Sam, really quick, do you need to meet energy efficient guidelines to install the recessed lights, or is it this is just a rough, nothing to do with your final inspection for the Hearst test?
So for the lighting, yeah, it's got to be LEDs or similar energy consumption. And another thing with our can lights, they have to be IC. I can't remember the number, IC 65 or something like that. But anyway, what it's explaining is that this is okay to be covered in insulation, that it won't catch on fire, and it's like it's good. And these are ICs.
Is that something that the city inspector looks out for when he's doing his rough inspection?
Yeah, for sure. I had a guy, he said, "I don't believe you," and he took his ladder and he looked in it, and yep, there it was.
So he actually went up there and saw to make sure that it is what is installed.
Yeah. It has to have that requirement for.
In order to pass the final rough inspection for an ADU, you need to install a light in the attic. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
And that we have it here. Can you go into further detail on how the setup is made on this section?
Yeah, so for sure you need a light. That's the blue box all the way at the peak of the roof. And then towards the bottom, super close to, I would say within a foot or two of the attic access, you need to have a switch or means to turn on and off the light. So if that's required, yeah.
Okay, and once again, we go back to the same thing, the experience that the sub for the electrical has when it comes to building ADUs. Maybe a regular electrician who's been doing this for 20 years and hasn't worked on an ADU doesn't know to install a light up there. And that's just basically the difference between a sub that knows the process for an ADU and just an electrician who doesn't have experience with ADUs. We're inside the bathroom. We have the fan up here. Who installs the fan?
So we mount the fan and we'll do the connection. But as far as ducting the fan out, it's going to be the HVAC guy.
Yes, and if you guys are using the master guide, I explained this process thoroughly, that the electrician can install the fan, but an HVAC company has to install the duct. Why? Because you need a permit, an HVAC permit, to install the ductwork. That's the HVAC company that can pull that permit, and then Sam obviously can install anything that's to do with the electrical. But you need two companies to work together to get this setup completed and pass the inspection. Hopefully you guys learned just a little bit more about the construction process for your ADU. On the very next video, I'm going to show you guys how to install windows for an ADU. That's it for this video, and I'll see you on the next one.